Hi, I'm ILoveKimPossibleAlot, or KP, and I make animation content on the internets as well, and I came to crash this video because I like collabing, and collabing makes friends. Yay, friendship. Of all the Don Bluth movies that came out of the 90s, or just general awkward Don Bluth movies in general, because there's plenty to choose from, I remember You Pebble and the Penguin. Thumbelina is one of those movies that I loved as a child, but as I got older, I'm like, this wasn't that good. Why'd I like it? The animation's pretty good, and the Don Bluth character designs are always very on point and distinct as far as his own style, but the movie doesn't offer a lot of depth. It's very Little Mermaid-like in the sense of choosing of the main character falling in love with the first guy she sees, and the whole journey is them getting together, and where's the love story besides them just being quirky and awkward and being the same size? I guess being the same size probably helps with your options here. And the music is also horrible. I mean, it's fun if you don't mind Giacomo, the pelican character. No, not the one from the Swan Princess, because that one was actually likable. Giacomo's annoying, and also makes me question the plot of this movie consistently. Like, he has wings, and she is lost in the garden, right? I don't know, this movie raises a lot of plot points and kind of makes you question just the whole tangent of the movie. And giving you aspects of like, how many things want to screw Thumbelina? Because apparently there is a lot.
Here's something you might not know about me. During my childhood, this was one of my go-to movies to always watch. I think I saw this countless of times as a child, and those moments did bring me joy. But now that I'm older and much more aware of the quality of content that I watch, I can honestly say that there is not enough nostalgia and Don Bluth animation that can save this one. Mainly because of the tone. This is the kind of exaggeratingly cutesy tone you'd expect from something that would satirize Disney. But the fact that this film uses it unironically and seriously to tell its story makes it hard to be invested with whatever is happening. It doesn't help either that it features a forced-in message of following your heart when Thumbelina continuously has her episodes of saying, "It's just impossible."
Anastasia, on the other hand, also has confusing origins. Do you guys remember Soviet Russia and the Russian Revolution and Rasputin? Like from the song, Rah Rah Rasputin. Well, they made an animated movie about it, and it's pretty unhistorically accurate, kind of like Pocahontas. I think the big difference between these two movies is Don Bluth took a step back, or maybe it was some studio executives, I'm not really sure, and was like, what made Thumbelina not work, and let's not do that thing for Anastasia. And if you have a certain level of disbelief as far as accepting that Anastasia is not a true movie, and when the movie came out, it was actually not proven that Anastasia died in the brutal Romanov massacre that occurred. So it was this whole 20th century mystery thing that they decided to make an animated movie about. And then in 2007, they were like, oh, we found her. And I'm like, oh, well, we gotta delete this movie then. But the characters themselves all have mostly likable angles, and the plot is more fulfilling than just a romance. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's romance in this movie, but it's not the main point of the movie. The main point of the movie is about finding yourself and exploring your past and being comfortable with where you came from and finding purpose. Thumbelina is about getting a man. So you can see how those two movies kind of vary depending on, you know, what you're going after with your animated movies.
However, this is not to say that Thumbelina doesn't have its merits. To the film's credit, it does supply a lot of beautiful and colorful animation that displays well the fantasy side of Don Bluth, and some of the songs have become fan favorites. Then again, that doesn't entirely save it from its already mentioned forcefully cutesy tone, a cast that's more uncomfortably weird than charming, and while some of the songs are well remembered, this is the movie that is the home of Mary the Mole.
He's blinder than a bat, but at least his eyes are blue.
Now, before we get into these two movies, allow me to explain a little bit of history about old Don here. Besides, animation history is my specialty, and to be honest, I need time to get used to this, animated body. I'm more of a camera guy when it comes to being on screen. Anyways, before he would go and create some animated classics like The Land Before Time, An American Tail, and The Secret of Nimh, Bluth actually started his animation career at Disney. He started in 1955 as an assistant animator for Sleeping Beauty, but then had to take a break 2 years later to go on a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But once he came back in 1971, he quickly climbed up the ranks as a talented animator on projects like Robin Hood and Winnie the Pooh and Tigger 2, up to becoming a directing animator for Pete's Dragon and The Rescuers, and created his own Disney short with The Small One. Within the studio, Don gathered quite a following and even met who would become some of his longtime partners like Gary Goldman and John Pomeroy. But not everyone was a fan of Don.
Raise a new crop of animators, but he was cautious about it. He got burned 5 years earlier when he entrusted a charismatic animator named Don Bluth to lead the department. But Bluth polarized the animators. Some adored him as the messiah of animation, and others thought he was just another Walt wannabe. Ironically, Bluth himself became disillusioned with the studio's animation department. So on his birthday in 1979, he resigned and took half the animators with him to start his own studio. The bombshell set back the release of The Fox and the Hound by 6 months and left Miller and the studio betrayed.
It wouldn't be until 1979 when Don and his crew decided to leave Disney when the studio was in one of its worst shape, and because the CEO at the time, Ron Miller, turned down his animated short, Banjo the Woodpile Cat. So this is all to say that while both Anastasia and Thumbelina share strong similarities to Disney, it's not surprising because Bluth actually had experience working at Disney, including animating one of their fairy tale classics. There is no denying that he got it directly off of somewhere.
When Don Bluth split from Disney, then things were different, hopefully. There were some really great successes from Don Bluth, like All Dogs Go to Heaven, which is still widely considered to be a great movie, as well as Land Before Time, which has a crap ton of sequels. Kinda sad how many sequels Land Before Time has. That's a lot of, That's 30 plus hours of Land Before Time sequels. And American Tail, which was a collaboration with Steven Spielberg and kind of has this whole subtext about the Russian immigrant Jews finding their place in the New World, and that's why that film was important. And Secret of Nimh is also pretty cool. I mean, they recently turned Anastasia into a Broadway musical now, so here's to say that the movie is kind of aged somewhat well, or at least the songs. The songs are better in Anastasia, just a heads up. Although they did heavily change a lot of the cartoony aspects of the movie, I mean, the fact that the Anastasia musical exists says a lot about, just how much the story has aged, or even if it's historical fairy tale aspect. I think most people know that at this point. They also cut out Rasputin from the musical, which I don't really blame them for, but Dark of the Night is such a cool song. Why would you do that?
Hate to be that to be fair guy, but the story is already completely messed up as it is when compared to the true events. Yes, as awesome as In the Dark of the Night is, the Rasputin elements are honestly the most out of place in Anastasia. Seriously, you have this story about love and self-discovery. Oh, and as a little bonus, here's this villain who's the only one using magic, and a wisecracking bat that's the only talking animal of the picture. So it does make sense to take him out of the stage musical for consistency, budget, and not frustrating the historians even further.
The movies have a lot of similarities in general, both being focused on princesses in the narrative. There's also a lot of similarities in the voice cast, which is a weird aspect for me to consider, but when you cast the voice of Ariel as another redhead in another Hans Christian Andersen tale, then I'm like, that's oddly specific. And also Gilbert Gottfried's here, because, I don't know, at least Gilbert Gottfried's kind of entertaining.
Okay, have it your way. I killed him. There, you satisfied?
Both movies also feature a lot of characters that play supporting roles, whether Bird Talk, the Bat, who interestingly had a spin-off sequel that's set in an alternate universe, and Don Bluth was involved in that, and Kelsey Grammer came back because I guess Kelsey Grammer and Don Bluth are like buds, yo. Interesting fact about me, I watched all of Frasier because I was slightly entertained that Kelsey Grammer, who played Vlad in Anastasia, and David Hyde Pierce, who played Dr. Doppler in Treasure Planet, talked to each other a lot. I watched the whole series. It's like 11 seasons. I was entertained. But the movie is meticulous enough to even replicate some shots of Disney animated movies, which is a clear indicator that you might be borrowing from Disney just a little bit too much. Just a little.
Not to mention how they are both animated musicals with very similar theming that you'd find in a Disney film. Thumbelina has to learn to believe in herself, motivated by love, while Anastasia has to discover who she truly is with the help of a cast of colorful characters. Even their sources are common to where Disney gets their stories, and coincidentally got released not long after Disney did the same. Thumbelina is based on a story by Hans Christian Andersen 5 years after The Little Mermaid made her debut, and Anastasia is based on historical events, although very loosely, just like Pocahontas 2 years prior.
As you probably already guessed, I feel like Anastasia is a superior film for a lot of reasons, from a higher production value to a more organic working cast. But I think the biggest aspect is that Anastasia's characters are much more clearly defined and entertaining than Thumbelina's. Heck, Dimitri has a whole Aladdin-like arc of going from a selfish prick to a genuine guy who ends up doing the right thing, through the power of Wub. Yay, good job, Dimitri. Everyone else is just more genuinely entertaining and fun. I think the only one that I remember in Thumbelina is Gilbert Gottfried, because he's Gilbert Gottfried. God bless the Gottfried.
Yeah, even if I admittedly watched Thumbelina countless of times as a kid, I gotta agree with you there. However, I will say that there is a reason why many feel the same as us. In the early 1990s, Don Bluth and Gary Goldman weren't just working on Thumbelina, but they were simultaneously also directing A Troll in Central Park and The Pebble and the Penguin, which led them to completely split their attention and energy onto 3 entire animated films, and have them all be released on a time span of little over a year. This can explain why these 3 films are often considered to be the least favorable works of Don Bluth. However, when it was time to work on Anastasia, it was their opportunity to start fresh, and now just put all their time and effort into this one picture, resulting in not only for the film itself to work, but to become Don's most successful animated film of his career.
Part of me is hoping for Disney to advertise these 2 as princesses, but nothing so far. I guess we'll wait to see what the future holds, but you can tell in the marketing that Disney has a general hesitation about it being misbranded for something they produced. Whoops, maybe we shouldn't have bought Fox. I'm just hoping for a little more of Anastasia, as that is a fun and likable film, at least for me. And they did just turn it into a Broadway play, like I said, so there's hope. Disney Plus in general is a whole new ballgame about how Disney content will be affected, and to really test how certain properties aged. I think it's something to keep an eye out for. If you like something that Disney produced, make sure to be watching it on Disney Plus, because Disney can see it. They can see your eyeballs.
I don't know about UKP, but I'm still not used to seeing some of these Fox IPs now a part of the Disney family. In a way, both movies ended up becoming princess stories themselves, where they try so hard to be like Disney because that was what most animated films were doing in the 1990s, but have now officially become Disney. Realistically, I doubt Disney would have them a part of the Princess Club, especially when Leia and Shuri have yet to get their invitation. But it seems like Disney Plus will be like the company's training ground on how to handle these newly acquired properties. So far, no word on Anastasia, but they are promoting Thumbelina in the streaming service. And the biggest irony of all, Disney is using how the movie is copying Disney in order to promote it. They know very well that this is a ripoff, but that's not gonna stop them from displaying that it's just like The Little Mermaid.
Anyway, thanks for Animat for letting me do this collab with him. So what do you think? Do you like Anastasia or Thumbelina better, and why? Let us know in the comments. Make sure to subscribe to Animat, because he's a cool dude, and you can come subscribe to me if you want to, I guess, too, whatever works. Make sure to comment and like and subscribe and share with your friends and all the stuff I'm supposed to tell you to do. Anyway, thanks for watching, and have a good day.